So, it's Thanksgiving week. November. Your birthday is tomorrow?
Friday.
The 25th is
Yeah.
Friday?
Yeah.
Your birthday is on Thanksgiving once every 7 years or so.
Or so. Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving and gratitude, yes.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about mindset last time.
Yeah, it kind of relates. Oh, it
But
doesn't
it's-
kind of relate. It completely dovetails
Yeah.
into mindset.
Yeah. Gratitude is the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Mindset is the discussion about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you have anything that you wanted to get off your chest first?
Just this.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
talking about what you're grateful for?
Well,
Or gratitude as a...
gratitude and, I
state.
would say the other link to those words, how did you just tie those together? It was mindset, gratitude.
Mindset is the... Gratitude is the mindset that you want to have, and mindset is what's
Yes.
going on,
Yeah.
maybe,
And
in your head.
what drives that in your head is affirmations.
Gratitude is built on affirmations.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. All in the mind,
Yeah.
regardless of the circumstances. And that's what I've been thinking a lot about. You got a thought, so go ahead.
Well, I was going to say affirmations are like lifting weights for mindset
Mm-hmm.
or gratitude.
Mm-hmm. They're the work.
Well, because we talked about this last time, affirmations can be positive or negative.
True.
I'm
Yes.
an idiot,
Yeah.
or
Yes, that's right.
I'm competent.
Yes. Yeah. Or I'm excellent.
Right. So really, an affirmation isn't like lifting weights. It's an action in your
Mhm.
life.
Mhm.
Some actions are lifting weights,
Mm.
organizing,
Mm-hmm.
being productive, doing work. Other actions are sitting on the couch, eating
Mhm.
junk food, sleeping in too late, staying up too late,
Mm-hmm.
too much screen time.
Mm.
So there's negative and positive actions. There's negative and positive affirmations.
And back to the wolf thing. Which
Yeah.
one are you feeding?
Yeah. So gratitude, you're saying positive affirmations help you build gratitude.
Mm-hmm. And over time, the more you build that machine,
Yeah.
and the more fuel you have for the machine, the better it runs.
Yeah. I almost want to take a step back because you have to come up with affirmations. Like if you said
Yeah.
today, I'm totally out of shape,
Mm-hmm.
I need to get in shape.
Mm.
I'd be like, all right, well, there's diet, there's
Mm.
nutrition and exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And if I said, start going to the gym, you'd be like, what do I do in the gym?
Mm.
And like, what do I write affirmations about? Or what am I affirming? You don't even have to write affirmations for
Mhm.
affirmations to be a part of your life. you
Right.
know? Every time in bold, you've got the purple wrist
Yeah. Bracelet on.
bracelet on.
Yep.
And in bold, you switch it if you're having a negative thought. I'm an idiot. Take
Yes.
it off. Some people
Switch.
snap themselves,
Yeah.
which
Or just touch it.
Whatever, yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
it's
there.
a pattern interrupt
Mm-hmm.
to change your mindset from I'm an idiot to I'm competent,
Mhm.
or whatever it is. And every time that you do that, you do that.
Right.
Every time you think that thought, you make that
Mm-hmm.
conscious decision
Mhm.
not to choose that thought.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take a step back to like building affirmations. Don't have to just be gratitude either. They could be like anything, but you're talking about like affirming gratitude specifically.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know. You're digging pretty deep, so I'm not
Well,
sure. And I'm willing to go there. I just don't know where how deep the hole goes.
I think for you it's very simple because you've been doing it for so long. It's like anything.
I don't know anything else.
Well, you don't know anything else, and when you go down a double black diamond on Sugarloaf, it's not a big deal. But for someone who's
Never
learning
skied
how
before.
to hold a pole in this hand, a
Right.
pole in this hand, a ski in that, never
yeah.
skied, and
Right.
they're trying to do whatever.
Yeah.
It's very complicated to do that.
Yes.
And so I think it's at least interesting for me to break it down. Okay, someone is listening to this and they're going, man, I want to do that, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
And that is exactly what I would like to focus for a while on anyways, because that's what has been. So I just drove to, Rockwood, Maine.
Where's that?
And back, Moosehead.
Okay.
Moosehead Lake. I was
Yep.
up at Moosehead Lake looking at land today with a developer. I mean, talk about
God's country.
Paradise, God's country. Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Wow. Absolutely beautiful. But on topic, and I'm driving along, I'm thinking that we're going to do this, and I'm thinking about gratitude. Okay, where does that fall? Thanksgiving, what are we thankful for? I'm really thinking about the person who doesn't feel like they have anything to be thankful for at all. So in some ways that's described as, rock bottom. I got nothing. I have nothing to be thankful for. They're just in a bad spot. And somebody's always has it worse than you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to be grateful for, I guess, at the other person's expense to some extent. However, there's always something to be grateful for, and you can dig down so far to that. I mean, there are things that I could be negative about or that could have affected me negatively in my life. I have not allowed them to be. I've never had cancer. Let's say I had cancer. That could be a negative thing, would probably put most people in a pretty serious state of despair. And yet you look at people who have had it, who have embraced it, and many times they see that as a blessing in their life. Bad events that have happened, what could be perceived as bad events in my life, might have impacted other people. I'm so fortunate to have had them, for them to, rebuild me, make me stronger, give me the opportunity to come out of it and be bigger, faster, stronger. I mean, I still remember that comes from being at CVA up in the AGC, Anti-Gravity Center. The weights up there, the weights, what do you call it? Plates. Mm-hmm. The weight plates at the brand. The brand was bigger, faster, stronger. Mm-hmm. And that's always been my thing about recovery. And, if somebody gets hurt, and it's appropriate, I'll say, bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
That's how you come out of it.
Back.
Juliet, bigger, faster, stronger from her injury.
Dislocated her elbow.
Yeah.
She will come back bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah. And, Juliet could be all negative about that happening, and I'll never do jiu-jitsu again. I'll always have this pain. And, pain just self-perpetuates itself. You focus on the pain, not the problem. You're in pain.
Yeah.
And if you're not focusing on recovery and what you can do, and you're thinking about your pain, you're locked in pain for maybe ever. Because...
Do you still have pain?
Sure. Yep. If I don't focus on it.
Yeah.
I can go hours without experiencing any of it. However, if I stop and if I allow myself to think about it, and certainly if I do things that aren't good for my body, then I'll have trouble. But it's just a matter of, hold on, sorry.
You're fine.
But it's just a matter of not focusing on it. Like today, I've been occupied, I've been driving. I walked some beautiful land for an hour and a half or so. I never thought about it. And when I stop, when I give myself pause, it's all there. It hasn't changed. It doesn't go away. So yes, it's there. And at the same time, I'm going to continue to do what I can until I'm leaving this world, making it better, because I'm not going to stop trying. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, my doctor has the same mentality.
Yeah, your doctor's awesome.
He's a nut.
Yeah, shout out.
Yes, absolutely. Dr. Zach Mazzoni.
And okay, so you touched on someone who has no hope or gratitude. Mm-hmm. They're in the Thanksgiving season. Everyone's saying what they're thankful for, and they're feeling empty or alone or hopeless. What do you think? Because it seems natural for you. What do you think is the first step in breaking the cycle?
I think that's a great question, and I think it begins with drawing a line in the sand, a line on the paper, separating yourself from what was past and what's future, and you've got to say, that's all behind me. Either it's relationships, experiences, injury, disease, whatever happens to be. that's behind me, and I now have the opportunity to step forward into a new mindset, a new way of looking at life. And it doesn't mean that, you just all of a sudden are a brand new person, but with one little thought, you start to make yourself better. And, it's focusing on maybe think about it. Do you have something to be grateful for? You woke up this morning. You're alive. Oh, actually, before that, skip being alive. Yes, you took a breath. So, yes, you're alive. And then you're able to get started. I got out of bed. I was able to get out of bed. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about anybody. And then just those little things, hey, I could brush my teeth today. And it might be something today you might just be grateful for the fact that I woke up. That's it. That's all you do all day long. That's all you can be grateful for. But it's one thing, and then you just start with another one, and then slowly, gradually, you build yourself up, and then you can start to say, okay, geez, I actually made it through most of today being fairly positive. And I'm not going to say that I don't know that I know it's difficult, especially for somebody who has been through things that have been extremely painful. There's always hope, and there's always someone there to help you. And even if that someone isn't there right at that moment physically with you, again, like we talked about yesterday, we got a God who's with us all the time, and he is in our head as much as we allow him to be in our brain and in our soul and in our body. And he's just constantly knocking on the door and waiting for us to let him in. And the more we let go, the more happiness, gratitude, joy we can find. Mm-hmm. And hope, I guess, that's a big thing. I remember when I was in the hospital and Aunt Luann brought me this, I don't know, maybe I've talked about this before.
Which time was this?
This was...
that was just fun to say, but also which time was it?
Which time was it? That was when I was in Maine Med with my neck.
Yep. Got it.
So Aunt Luann brought in, I was in a lot of pain, and Aunt Luann brought in a stainless, probably chrome, and it was probably 6x4, big capital letters. The word hope was sort of a sculpted piece, and it said hope on it. And she gave me a card, and somehow or somewhere she'd heard that hope was an acronym for hold on, pain ends. Mm. And that applies to physical, mental, spiritual, any kind of pain that somebody might be experiencing. Hope is what gets us into a new mindset, allows us to come up with a new affirmation and, to move on from where we were.
I've always found physical pain to have it's like more painful and usually like more concentrated and shorter lasting, and emotional or existential pain to be just as real, just as painful, longer lasting, somehow easier to distract yourself from. It's very difficult to distract yourself from physical pain. I think you have to be kind of like real focused, or I don't know. I don't really know how to describe what you would need to be, but emotional pain or existential pain, that is much easier to distract yourself from. That doesn't make it any less real or painful. I mean, I felt emotional pain that was worse than, and I would have rather escaped from than a lot of physical pain I felt. A lot of physical pain I felt, it's kind of like, that was worth it,
Yeah.
Whatever stupid thing I was doing, it was kind of like, well, that's the, evidence that really happened. Versus emotional pain, I would almost say I'm good on that.
And I think that's very true. I think there are also people who experience physical pain that is so severe that can't be treated.
Or chronic.
That's what I mean. I'm
Yeah.
talking about chronic
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
just constant.
Severe pain, Juliet dislocating her elbow.
Mm.
They were like, yeah, that's worse than anything, basically. You know,
Congratulations,
femur.
you've now experienced
Right.
the most painful, one of the
you've-
most painful injuries.
You've experienced a 10.
Yeah.
And then there's chronic back pain
Mhm.
that people wake up with every day,
Mhm.
and having never
Or
dealt with that,
like
or-
Crohn's disease,
Right.
or I mean, there's many worse things than all this.
Right.
But there are those things that we haven't experienced, and we really haven't had anybody in our life. I guess I don't think that has had that to the extent. Pain is a really challenging thing to deal with, or can be.
Right. One thing I've heard about pain, emotional or physical, is that when experiencing it, the most important thing to do is shrink your timeline. And like you said, draw a line in the sand, or past, present, future. Draw a line and say what was is not what will be. With pain, shrinking the timeline. So you're thinking, I'm going to have pain for, you get neck surgery. I'm going to have pain for the rest of my life. I mean, what are you going to live to be 120?
Right.
Okay, well, that's 60 more years. Okay, that's too much to deal with. Well, who knows if you'll make it to past 80. So let's just say 40 years. Okay, I'm going to have pain for 40 years. It's still too long. It's like you have to keep shrinking it down. Plus, you're going to heal in a year or two, most likely, to a considerable amount. So okay, so I'm going to be in quite a bit of pain for 2 years. Well, a year of that, I'm going to be doing a lot of rehab, skiing, whatever. Okay, so a year, and you just keep breaking it down. I'm going to be stuck in this bed for 5 days.
Yeah.
Minimum. Okay, how am I going to survive today?
I'm
not going to make it through today. How am I going to make it to my next visit from whoever is coming to the hospital? And that's like what I'm preaching to the choir, and I've never really been there, but that's what I've heard is you just have to keep breaking it down to smaller and smaller.
It's just like everything in life. You
Right.
just got to break it down to those little parts, for sure. And I think when you look at the pain that people experience, you have to be very purposeful and intentional to replace those thoughts, or to fill your brain with other things, I guess is what I'm saying. I mentioned it earlier. You need to be occupied. You have to, your brain, I'm convinced, layers thoughts, patterns. I don't know the scientific way to say it, but I'm convinced that you can have pain, and that can be superseded by another thought that you just immerse yourself in, whether it's something creative, something that you love to do, or a conversation with someone. It takes that and pushes the pain down low enough so that you're not focused on it. But if you focus on the pain, you'll have the pain.
What you focus on expands.
What you focus on expands. Yeah, kind of skewing the bold law. You focus on the pain, you got a problem.
Yeah. And like having a negative thought or frustration or pain or whatever, you can't just focus on not thinking about it.
Right.
You can't just fill it with void. Your brain is not a vacuum.
Right.
So you have to focus on gratitude or like you said, creativity, getting into a project. What are some of the tools that you use to get yourself into a state where you're focused not on negativity? You're not trying to just focus on not being negative. You're actually moving in a positive direction. You mentioned affirmations. What are some other things that you do that help you move from either negative or just maybe even an uninspired state to a purposed being?
I think part of it is a routine, that I have. I get up at the same time every day. 5 days of a week, I'm up and I'm doing basically the same thing, and I'm focused on exercises, reading, listening, and I think those things help to put me on a path towards feeling like I'm at least doing something to improve myself. Listening to good podcasts. I mean, again, feeding it. What am I feeding it? I'm feeding it with books that encourage me. I'm feeding it with podcasts that encourage me, conversations with people that encourage me. And I guess the real thing that I think what works the best is when you have gratitude in yourself even if it's just an ounce, and you can give that to someone else, your ability to affirm yourself and have gratitude and improve your mindset and positive state of mind just exponentially grows. When you can pass gratitude on to somebody else, praise, recognition, hey, that was awesome. If that's all you can say, that then returns to you in spades.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have then whatever negative thoughts you have replaced with a little bit of positivity, and whether that person smiles or gives you some recognition, you'll get something back.
Right. Yeah.
And even if they don't give you something back, you've taken the initiative to do something that you either wanted to, needed to, or whatever, and it brings you some fulfillment.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about this, was if you're that person who has no hope around Thanksgiving, well, there's definitely not just one of you.
Right.
So I bet it's not that hard to find someone else who feels similarly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can identify that person, and if you go looking for someone, if I go looking for someone with a smile, I'm going to find someone with a smile.
Mm-hmm.
If I go looking for someone that's having a hard day, I'm going to find someone that's having a hard day.
Yeah.
So go and find that person. They'll be highlighted to you. It's like not, it's just the way it works. Your brain will pick up on that. Go and have an impact on them. Smile at them. You might not want to smile, but I guarantee they want to see a smile.
Right.
Even if it's just put it on.
Yeah.
And they'll smile back, and then you'll smile for real, or whatever it is. I mean, it can be, if you have $5, paying for the person behind you in the coffee line or the toll booth or what. It's like, it is so easy to just make a small ripple.
Yeah.
And
people can become entitled to the feeling or the need for people to give them affirmation, to give them gratitude, to make them feel better. And you got to step out of that. When you cross that line, there's no more entitlement.
Well, that's want equals lack.
Yes. Yeah.
When you want.
Yeah, you're lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you want, when you need. And it doesn't mean that you don't want and you don't need. However, if you, again, feed that, it's going to manifest. If you don't feed it and you figure out, another pattern, that's what you'll feed.
Yeah.
And, I think about Thanksgiving again. Another thought is, so people gather, those that have the opportunity to gather with other people. There may be somebody at that gathering who sometimes is confrontational, maybe all the times is confrontational. So you go into it and, how are you going to survive that Thanksgiving table or, sitting around after or before and the conversations come up that are uncomfortable, that make you feel very uncomfortable and cause you to feel stress. It probably doesn't bother the other person at all because that's their mindset.
Right.
And the main thing to remember there is you don't have to stay in that room.
Right.
You can leave.
Yeah.
And if you have the wherewithal, you can say to that person when they start, okay, I understand. You may want to talk about that. If you want to have that conversation, that's okay. I'm going to leave. And just leave it there.
Yeah.
And if they continue, that's more important to them. What's more important to you is your mindset and your ability to step away and say, not for me.
Right. And the same is also true for those of us that may be the controversial or confrontational and controversial person.
The antagonist.
The antagonist. At
I'm not saying you're the antagonist.
I know who I am. That you might want to. Sometimes I'll I'll start an evening off hanging out with Juliet, my sister, or whatever, and I'll like immediately just go right into it.
A jab.
Yeah, which my generation would say like you woke up and chose violence. And I'll like stop myself sometimes, once in a while, and be like, I'm gonna try and start off on the right foot tonight. Like I don't need to. If I end up there, that's one thing, but starting there probably not the best.
Yeah,
the best thing.
Yeah. If it's Juliet who's on the other side of that, one of her defense mechanisms could be to poke the bear a little bit, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's not the right tact for a Juliet to take either.
Right.
Poking the bear is not
right.
advisable.
And I think that when you have gratitude for your family or your friends or someone else, you have to be grateful for all of them. And like, okay, let me name 5 things I love about my spouse or my sibling or my parent. But then like, there's these 4 things that drive me crazy about them. And it's like, I don't want to hang out with my family because they're going to do this or they're going to say that. Well, you got to take the good with the bad. It's awesome to see them because they've got funny stories or they're gonna talk about what they did this year and it's so cool to hear about their trip or whatever excites you about seeing them. Also, they're gonna do X, Y, and Z that might drive you crazy.
Right.
And just going in prepared and saying like, I'm here to love my family, not to leave going, my family is perfect and I'm totally happy. That's not Thanksgiving.
Or
that's
my family is a mess and I'm never going back again.
Right. Yeah, the goal is to leave feeling like you bless them and you are blessed by being a part of your family.
Right.
And for some people, that might be impossible. And they may not be spending Thanksgiving with their family, and that's okay.
And some people have lost someone this year.
Right.
Or just recently.
Right.
And that's a really challenging time.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is, as I get older, the more I go to like a church thing or a community event surrounding the holidays, they talk so much about that. How the holidays are the hardest season for people because they've lost someone.
Right.
Especially people who have recently lost someone. Because the rest of the year, you're just kind of doing life, whatever. But then Thanksgiving hits and
there's a hole.
They're not there.
A big hole.
There's a seat that they're not sitting in. Or when you go around and do presents, like they're not opening a present. And gosh, I've never experienced that. And that gives me gratitude. For my situation.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about it.
I recently I've heard it a few times, but I recently heard this, and it's such a good reminder that the hardest thing you've ever experienced is the hardest thing you've ever experienced. Or the most tragic thing you've ever experienced is the most tragic thing you've ever experienced. And a lot of times people will compare. Typically it happens where it's like, I've never been through anything. I haven't like suffered like so-and-so has suffered.
Right.
Breast cancer or whatever. Well, the hardest thing I've ever been through is the hardest thing I've ever been through. And I know what that feels like. And that might be the hardest thing they've ever been through. I don't know what that feels like, but I know what it feels like to go through a hard thing. And if theirs is worse, then that just gives me so much more empathy for them. But it doesn't help to belittle yourself and say like, oh, I've never been through anything.
Right. No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah, it all has to be taken in context and mostly just slow down.
Yeah.
Don't rush to it. You know, if somebody is in a spot, the other thing too, I think is, I heard Linda McKissick say this. I don't know where it comes from, but she said it at I think it was a family reunion training one time. She said that we make up stories about other people, and then we make
confirm
them. Confirm them.
Yeah,
we make them true. Yeah.
Changing gears a little bit. What are some things you're grateful for in this year? Like what? Tell me some things that have happened to you or you've seen or you've done or whatever that you're grateful for.
I guess I would say that I am grateful for time. I feel I have more time than I've ever had in my life.
Like free time.
Free time. Time. And I guess it's our real estate business and our team, people, everybody involved doing things, fulfilling roles that at one time either mom was doing it all or I was doing it all or we both were doing it all. And now, we have such great help.
Yeah.
Such great help. All the family, you, Juliet, Jamie, Tyler, Kaylee coming in, I had a conversation with her today about my gratefulness for her and all that she's done. It's just lifted me up in a lot of ways to be able to be very thankful. And, do I work a lot? Yes, still. However, I'm in the lane that I should be in.
Right.
That's the nicest thing.
It doesn't hurt so bad when you're not
right.
Getting dragged through whatever you're doing.
Yes. Yeah.
And that just is about having the right people in the right seat on the bus and everyone being in their gifting and purpose, passion, whatever.
Yeah.
I think about Kaylee being on our team because she unlocked so many other things. Jamie didn't come back and do that job.
Right.
Because Kaylee's here.
Right.
Juliet doesn't do Kaylee's job anymore, which was Juliet was talented at, but not it wasn't her passion.
Right.
It's Kaylee. Kaylee loves it and crushes it. Because Juliet isn't doing that, she's got so much more to put into, serving our clients with, marketing their properties and making them look amazing. Because she's doing that, I'm not thinking about that.
Right.
As much. Because Kaylee is taking care of you, Lori isn't worried about you.
Right.
Making sure you have, she still is, but not to the extent.
Right.
So she's freed up to be involved with Midcoast Youth Center or the grandkids or whatever. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can focus on things like this. I mean,
totally.
You wouldn't have had time to do this.
100%. Yeah. So just that one person.
Right. Right. And, Tyler, too, with Kaylee. I mean, she has changed his world in terms of transactions.
Yeah. Because he was doing it all himself.
He was doing
before.
it all himself.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So that, from a work perspective, that's one thing.
Well, it's as Jamie said the other day, eat, sleep, breathe. Our work is not just work.
Right.
Because we are all family and we all work together all the time and we hang out a lot.
Yep.
And so to say that's work, it's like...
Right. Right. It's
no,
life.
that's family.
That's life.
Yeah, really, that's life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep going.
I would say physically, I think it's been a good year for me. I've been able to I've ridden my bike quite a bit. I've got some new things that I'm going to do. Kite boarding. It's become a new kind of fun thing to do.
You learned how to do that in Turks and Caicos.
Turks and Caicos, yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking, do you feel stronger this year than you have since your accident?
Yes.
You do. This is the strongest you feel?
Best I've felt.
Okay.
Yep.
Would you admit it if that was not the case?
Oh, yeah. I actually thought about it today. I actually really seriously thought about it today because I was up at Moosehead walking this land, and some of it was pretty thick and briarly, and I had to lift my legs up, around and over things. And I didn't even think about it. And, when I think about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, the first year when I was coming back, I remember going to take pictures at a house. There was 2 feet of snow, and I had to walk out. I didn't have to, but to get the right shot, I had to walk out into the backyard, and I'm post holing. I could barely get back in the truck. I was exhausted afterwards. So, yeah, I'm a lot better. I'm a lot stronger. And, the things that I've done or the reasons for that are I keep at it, and I keep finding new ways. And, I got the rower, and I started rowing maybe a couple of years ago. And that has helped my back, actually everywhere, but really my back strength and that muscle that, wasn't working. I got to think that's 90, 95% better or compensated for because I don't even have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. Rowing's just such a good exercise too because it's cardio, but you're also building like the entire posterior chain, and like it's like strength and cardio at the same time.
Right.
So it's like
Exactly. Yes.
you could not be spending 5 to 10 minutes more efficiently than
Right.
being on a rower.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sleep has been a huge thing for this year in terms of improvement. You know, that getting that bed.
Sleep 8.
The 8 sleep.
8 sleep.
8 sleep, yeah. Pretty sure it's 8 sleep.
I feel like every time I hear it from you, it sounds wrong, but I don't want to correct you and then find out I'm wrong. So you're right.
Yes.
8 sleep.
8 sleep.
Right.
And I mean, that has just been a game changer for both Mom and I think, in terms of our sleep. And
that's like a pad that goes over your mattress that keeps it cool or hot.
Yep. Yeah,
and
cool or hot.
Keeps track of your sleep.
Can change the temperature, and it's separate on either side.
It is not cheap.
50 to 110 degrees, and it's not cheap. No.
So don't go look at it and think it's
not
going to be $100 or $200 solution.
It's a $2,200 solution for your bed.
Yeah.
And if you have an HSA account, health savings account,
can write it off.
You can write it off.
You sent me
and I don't know, but it might be worth it if health insurance may cover a part of it.
Or like, hey, sleep. We've listened to health people before, Dr. Matthew, whatever his last name is, talk about sleep, nutrition, exercise, mindset. All these other things are pillars of health. Well, sleep is the foundation that they
sleep is the foundation.
lay on. And if you're not healthy and you're not sleeping well, there's no amount of money that is probably... I've been struggling with sleep lately for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's... That you sent me a coupon for 8 sleep. Well, my buddy Tim Ferriss sent me one that's $100 more than yours. So. I'm like his Tim Ferriss email. It was like
Trump by Tim.
Yeah, yours. Well, online it's like $450 off, and I was like, oh wow, it's like that's a big discount, but not that helpful. Yours was $550, and then at the bottom of Tim Ferriss's 5 Bullet Friday email, it was $650, and I was like,
kidding.
Sorry, Dad, my buddy Tim's got this. Although I didn't get it.
I'm glad that he's got it.
Yeah.
And I guess when you mentioned Tim Ferriss, I was just going to say that it's what I've listened to this past year have been, geez, I don't know if I'm in the right spot for it or not, but just more clarity.
Tim Ferriss?
Well,
his podcast?
Him, the podcasts that I listen to, the books I've listened to, the programs I've been involved in, Tim Ferriss, Annie F. Downs, Bob Goff, Everything Life and Real Estate.
Who's that?
Those are the podcasts. That's Linda McKissick.
I just want to make sure we gave her a shout out.
Yes. Linda McKissick and Dana Ventry.
Nice.
Podcast. And, I guess I've just kind of really honed into, okay, these are the voices that I want to hear in my head. And these are the messages that I want to be receiving. And it's content that I want to share with other people when it comes out right, or when it's right for that person. And, books. Geez, I plowed through some amazing books this year. Anything from self-improvement to financial. I read the Bonhoeffer book this year. That was fascinating.
You and Binky read that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not. It's a long book.
It's a long book. It's the biggest, thickest book I've ever read.
Really?
I think it's more pages than the Bible, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Probably not as many words.
Much easier to read than the Bible.
And, and then I didn't mention, also on the podcast is Father Mike Smith's.
Oh, yeah.
And the Bible in a Year.
Yeah. Which is like 20 or 30 minutes of like the verses of the day, the sections of the day, and then a prayer, and then him kind of
dissecting.
Talking about the context.
Downloading it.
Which when you read like the Old Testament stuff, some of it is just like,
oh, yeah.
It's brutal. And then you have him kind of give you the like, what this actually means.
Right.
And it's like, oh, wow, that
Yeah.
was not so bad because now I at least understand it.
Right. And we transitioned, recently, just not too long ago, from the Old Testament into the New Testament. And he said something to me that was so profound that and I never really made this connection before. How many of the things that are in the Old Testament that are repeated in the New Testament,
Connected.
I had no idea
Yeah.
where this was coming from. I mean, almost everything that's said, because that's how they spoke.
Yeah.
That was their language, was the
References.
references to
It's
the
like
Old
us
Testament.
referencing memes.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or quotes
Or
from
quotes.
movies.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm in the
what
dock
they
here,
had.
Charlie. Like whatever, that we,
Yes. Yeah.
they were just like, and Moses said this.
So the Old Testament, the connection between the two and how one foretells for the other, just amazing. So Father Mike Schmitz, Bishop Robert Barron, I listened to his homily on the weekend.
And you found him through, was he on Jordan Peterson originally?
Yes, Bishop.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's often on Jordan Peterson.
He's in Santa Barbara? Where is he?
He is in Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Yes. And
That
Father
was-
Mike Schmitz is in
Yeah, that's
Duluth,
crazy.
Minnesota, where Lucian is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I went to school in Santa Barbara, so that's weird.
Yeah. So there's
The
those
Catholic
two.
boys.
Yeah. And then another one is The Chosen. I'm a
Mhm.
big fan of The Chosen and those series.
Which is
It is it's the story of Jesus.
yeah,
It's a television series.
Jesus Netflix.
Jesus Netflix, yes. Yeah. You can binge.
Got it. Amazon Jesus.
Yeah. First and second season, and the third season is just coming out now.
I don't think I finished season 2. I was so hesitant to watch that because I was like, oh,
Another one.
terrible.
Another one.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And then I
Gonna be
watched it
cheesy.
and was like, ugh. It was so good. And I was like, I'm not going to binge this because I need this once a week in my life, or at most once a week. Like, if not, spread it out more, because I was like so impacted by every episode that I was like, I can't listen to this.
Can't load it all at once.
Yeah, it's like it's like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've watched the episodes, and just it's nuggets that you get out of it every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like the way it makes you feel. It's
Yeah.
like you are a disciple in that moment, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that has certainly encouraged me. And Jonathan Romy, he plays Jesus. He's Catholic, very Catholic, and he has this. He promotes and participates in Hallow, which is an app that it's kind of like a daily devotion, and they're just starting Advent work right now, and they're going to do 25 days before Christmas, and it'll be Jonathan Romy and several of the Chosen cast participating in this short Christmas
Is this the
message
thing you were
every
telling
day.
me about that you wanted to go do tomorrow?
No, that the Chosen, the first 2 episodes of The Chosen season 3 are at the movie theater now.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's out.
It's out.
But you have to go to the theater.
Right now you have to go to the theater.
So you could wait and see it
You could
next
wait
week.
and to see it in a few weeks. It'll be out on the app, and it's free. You don't have to pay for it. However, that is completely crowdfunded. There's been nobody owns it, basically.
So the Advent starts when?
Thursday. Excuse me. This Sunday is the first Sunday of Advent.
Is that's not the first?
No, it's not the first,
How does that work?
because it's a Sunday. So they have to. There's so many weeks. It's 4 weeks of Advent leading up to it.
So 4 weeks before Christmas.
Yes.
Christmas is on a Sunday.
Christmas is on a. Is it this year?
Well, 4 weeks. Sunday
Yeah, I think it is on Sunday. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there are 4 Sundays before Christmas that
Got
celebrate
it.
Advent.
Got it. Okay. But an Advent.
And I'm no expert here, so
Yeah,
I could be wrong. So I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I should
This
know,
is
but I don't.
Catholic trivia.
Yes.
An Advent calendar starts on December 1st.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I just learned something, actually listening to Annie F. Down. She had someone on, sorry, I can't remember her name, talking about the Advent wreath. There's the Advent wreath, and they light the different candles.
Mm.
And there are lots of different interpretations for what those candles stand for. Some people have different ways of doing it, but I think the most popular is, see if I can remember these. The first week is hope. And then the next one is peace. And then the next one is joy. And I can't remember the fourth one.
You should have just made something up because no one was going to check.
Yeah, it's hope.
Hope, peace,
Joy.
Some other fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah, some other fruit of the Spirit.
Okay. So, Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Not Christmas.
Not Christmas.
Although the reason for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
But
it's the best holiday in the whole year.
Thanksgiving?
Well, not necessarily the
Wow.
best. Sorry. It's not based on any political, religious.
Like everyone can get behind Thanksgiving.
Anybody can get behind Thanksgiving. So if you're looking for something to get behind, start with Thanksgiving.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
Well, yes. When I talk about gratitude, I talk about my gratitude to you, Benjamin, for all that you do, for all of us, the love that you have for us, for the joy that you bring us, for the enthusiasm, the spark that you bring.
Chaos. The chaos.
Sometimes.
As Juliet and Mariana call me, an agent of chaos.
An agent of chaos, yes. Well, there has to be that. And for, being my son and for saving my life.
Yeah.
I'm here today.
Well, I'm grateful. I was talking with our real estate coach, Kristen, today, who's amazing. It was my week to get coached and to receive coaching. And we were talking about the podcast and what it'll mean and what we'll do and how it will grow and what will we be able to give to the world through it, how we'd be able to connect with different people and share stories and tell stories and have an impact. And she said, generationally, this podcast is meaningful because your dad won't always be around and you won't always be around, or your grandfather, who we'll have on the podcast, won't always be around, or whoever we interview won't always be around. And when we record that person's story or anecdote or whatever it is, that will be forever. Hopefully, people will be able to enjoy that and connect with them and know them kind of face to face. And that meant a lot to me. And I had already thought about that.
Yeah, right.
When she said that, I was like, yeah, I've already thought about that. I'm like, I got to get all these people recorded before someone gets hit by a car or what we just don't know.
Right.
Life is short.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly right. And if I can jump back to one thing I was thinking today, when I left the house this morning, I said before I left, your mother was leaving, and I was sitting at my desk, and she came in and said, "Goodbye, and be careful today, and you've almost made it to 60."
Get lost in the woods, lost on a mountain in Maine.
So I pull out of the house and I'm driving, and I am so grateful. I am so at peace with what I've done, with where I'm at, with what I'm doing, that I'm like, I'd be sorry for those that I left behind, but I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I felt that way before.
Yeah. Don't pity the dead, pity the living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for my family, my wife, Mariana, who this morning was like, do you want me to make you a breakfast sandwich before you go? Which is not uncommon. That wasn't like a nice gesture. That's just like, she's just awesome. And then ran some errands with her, and she's so funny. She makes me laugh. My siblings, who are all the total opposite of me, which I love. The opposite of agents of chaos, agents of order. you and Mom, who have given me way too much, and my in-laws who have given us way too much, and we're eternally grateful in love and more. My grandparents, who are grandmother, Grammy, and Binky, still alive, which is like unreal. I remember in elementary school, people like, my grandfather died, and I was like, what? My grandfather's like 50. It's like, that'd be like if you were to, you died of health-related things, not an accident. Right. So I'm like insanely lucky and grateful to have my grandparents. And I'm excited to hang out with. That's like, Thanksgiving is like, I don't get to see them enough, especially considering how close I live. That's on me. So I'm super grateful to get to see them and spend time with them. And it's your birthday, so celebrate that. 60.
Yeah. 60.
Which is crazy. I said to Mariana yesterday, we were talking about her parents, how close they are to 70. And I was like, I'm okay with turning 40. I'm not okay with them turning 70. I was like, I'll be 40 when you're 70. And I'll be fine with being 40, but I will not be okay that you're 70. That's like, I can't even talk about that. And I'm grateful for our country that we live in. I think it's a little chaotic right now, and everybody's a little upset at each other and thinks they know what's right and thinks the other person doesn't. But everybody just wants prosperity and peace, and they think that different things should happen in order to make that happen. But when you sit down at the Thanksgiving table, everybody laughs at, a good joke. A good joke should make everybody laugh, not just some people. And everybody loves to hear a good story, and we all like the rolls and the mashed potatoes and gravy. Right. And we have so much more in common than we do not.
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody today about Thanksgiving. I'm trying to think. It was the guy that I was walking the land with, and I said, we were talking about Thanksgiving and all to be thankful for. And I said, he mentioned, I said, what are you going to do for Thanksgiving? And he said, well, we usually play a little football, and then we
that's one thing we don't do that.
And I said, the tragedy of Thanksgiving is just waiting to eat all day long.
Oh, I know.
And that being the center of everything. And really, when you think about it, that shouldn't be that way. I mean, yeah, it's the food is great, but, that only makes Thanksgiving an hour.
Yeah, we need like 14 grandchildren. Between a very small amount of us in the family, we need to have a lot of grandchildren because I want to have that. Tomorrow I'm going to jiu-jitsu at 10 a.m. For a turkey roll. They call it rolling. Yeah. And I'm like, that is what... Well, and you and I have surfed on... I think I've surfed on almost as many Thanksgivings as I haven't since I was in high school. Maybe less in the last few years. But there always seems to be waves on Thanksgiving, California or here. Yeah. And doing something like that, talk about pumping yourself full of gratitude. Right. Get that like post-surf just... It's so beautiful and crisp, and you're alive.
And if you don't surf, just step outside.
Yeah. Go for a walk. Family walk.
Family walk.
Yeah.
Walk by yourself if that's all you got. But, enjoy the fresh air.
Right.
The city air, whatever you have.
Yeah. Cool. Well, love you, Dad.
Love you, guy. Thanks a lot. Success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Winston Churchill.